Maungatautari is a 3,400 hectare sanctuary surrounded by 47 kilometres of fence. It's a thriving ecosystem with a large area of native bush and a small amount of wetland. It was begun over 10 years ago by a group of people who wanted to preserve an area of land with protection in perpetuity. Maungatautari Mountain itself was already a reserve. There's also both Maori and private land making up the total area.
When the fence went up, there was probably the normal forest birds you would have expected, tui, fantails and things like that are probably hung on prior to any protection. But subsequently we've released stitchbirds or hihi, saddleback or tieki, given the Maori name. Kiwi, of course, we've released almost 60 kiwi onto the mountain. We've got tuatara on the mountain, we've got takahi on there, and some of the lesser known species like the mahanui giant weta, the frogs up there, Hochstetter's frogs, and we've even released some native fish. You're never going to get quite back to how it was, but it's really protecting what we've got, and it's like treating it like a genetic store in terms of what we've got is, protected under a continuous protection regime, and also we'll be able to provide stock for other projects of this type in the future. Kiwi is a very good example with birds from Taranaki, birds from Central North Island around Tongariro and Ruapehu and such like.
Hatch in here.
The fence, which is our 47-kilometre fence, which is pest-proof, but we're still required to monitor what happens. We have a full-time staff on fence maintenance and also full-time staff working on pest control around the fence, and we're continuously monitoring the fence by tracking tunnels and running bait stations and trapping regimes. The integrity of the fence is what the project depends on.
Righty-ho, little fella, back to bed.
We have over 400 volunteers. These are active volunteers, and they're providing well over 30 full-time equivalents in terms of effort. It's a substantial amount of effort, and the project would not survive without the volunteer effort. And we have had some issues with landowners, and we just continue to build on those relationships with landowners and work through sort of resolution to their concerns. Our relationship with the landowners is extremely important to us. The project wouldn't be able to exist without the landowners' support. And for the landowners, it means often they've got vehicles going through at all hours of the day at night, particularly at times of severe weather and events, you'll have guys going through. But again, we're always grateful for the support we get from the landowners. And these landowners join us too on the work as well. They'll come up and help fix the fence all hours of the day or night.
As you can see, we've left you with a bit of a mess here, but we'll be back tomorrow to clean up this fence and stuff.
We get notified of a fence breach by a system that's linked through the cell phone system. So this is a classic example. Some of the guys are on the fence at the moment. We've lost a couple of sections, and with any sort of gap, the predators on the outside of the fence will certainly probe any sort of break in the fence or any breach.
I'll bring a trailer up and we'll get rid of this old fence and tidy the job up as soon as it's a bit drier.
Bill Garland has been involved with the project from the start. His 420 hectare sheep and beef property has 8 kilometres of pest-proof fence within its boundary.
David Wallace asked Gordon Stevenson and myself to come along and talk about whether it was feasible to fence off Maungatautari, and we of course thought it was a bit off the wall, but we went along to humour him really and came away convinced that it was a possibility. And both of us had had a lot of involvement in conservation and private land. Both of us had been directors of the Queen Elizabeth II National Trust and been on the Conservation Board and other bits and pieces. So we had an interest in conservation, and we were both farmers. So we understood the dynamics and the need for both parties to coexist if you've got conservation on your doorstep. One of the issues always was when we talked about fencing off is how did you service the fence and at the same time not impact on farming operations. And fortunately for the trust that's running the project, a lot of the farmers are running dairy heifers and dry stock. There's still one or two of us with ewes and lambs, which makes it even more difficult. And then to make it even more complicated, the two of us that are running sheep on the mountain have contracts with Whole Foods in America, so we've got some pretty strict QA requirements, particularly when it comes to poisons and that sort of thing, and withholding periods, and animal welfare issues. So farms like this, this farm's got 8 kilometres of pest-proof fence on it. You know, there's some quite serious implications if we don't get it right. A farm like this probably has about 1 vehicle a day coming through from the trust to do a whole lot of things. But some days, you know, there'll be up to 4 or 5 vehicles, and one week we had 16 just a couple of weeks back. And they're doing a whole lot of different things, not just checking the fence. They're doing pest control and checking takahe, for example, and doing bird counts. And then the area behind us is a Queen Elizabeth II Covenant, which is fenced off and is used for research purposes. So we have scientists coming through doing research, and that's being used to monitor the impact of mice. So it's great having the project on your boundary, particularly if you've got a history of conservation as we have. So there's some real pluses, and it's just managing the traffic through the farm. I think the fence itself is worth about 14 million, but there's been an enormous amount of effort put into getting rid of the pests, and so you've got to have some sort of legal status to protect that fence, and then you have to have a legal agreement to give trust access. The trick is, of course, that the project's got to coexist with the farming activity, and so you've got to have an agreement that holds people to account if something goes wrong. So it's about finding a balance, and that's just about as difficult as building a fence. Getting the right balance and getting a legal agreement that people can buy into and not devalue the properties. We're now 13 years down the track, and we've got a legal agreement and an access agreement and a compensation package that farmers can buy into. It's now just a matter of going out and telling them, hey, after 13 years there's something here that is acceptable.
This program was made with funding from New Zealand On Air.